All right. I don't see any new faces, so I guess we can skip that and go right into the outstanding RFCs. Why is that just showing the first one, though? Anyway. So we've got proposed adding UBI 9 base images to Paketo build packs. This is actually really still open? I
Oh,
thought we
we
were
opened this one.
past
This
that point.
No, we've opened this one 4 hours ago. So UBI 8 is added, but we want to add UBI 9, just like you have Jammy and you have Noble.
Oh, I see, I see, I see.
When we
Um,
when we started, 8 was like the active one, but like now 9 is the act. I mean, 8 still is supported for 5 years, but like 9 is the one that we would expect new
all
people to
right,
start
get
with.
it. Got it, got it, got it.
And it really should just be like clone the repos and tweak some very small things because the way we put together all the UBI 8 stuff is very much driven from like a small amount of config and even like our extensions. Actually, I'm not sure, Ozzy, if it's true for the Java extension, but for like the Node extension, it will look at the stack and it will figure out, oh yeah, this is the 9 stack, so I'm going to use the right images for 9. So like we don't even need to make any changes there.
I'm not expecting to have to make changes, but I haven't tested it, so it might do.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
same with us. We haven't tried it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
All I'm doing is installing packages by name, and I doubt those package names will have changed in 9. But if they have, I'll need to add some logic to detect which stack I'm on and do the appropriate. But yeah, the easy way to do that is get the stack built, put
Yep.
the extensions in, and see if it doesn't work.
Yep.
Just one question. Is there a reason to do it in little steps? Like you probably like next is going to be a UBI 9 builder using these base images?
Yep. Yep.
Would we just have introduced UBI 9 even?
I
Like,
think the reason that Costas mentions in there is that like the things that detect changes, that basically today it would trigger like rebuilds of all the images as opposed to just the ones for the right stack. So that's the one reason why it's easier to just clone it and then it'll just detect the changes for that stack versus both of them.
okay, yeah. Seems fair for me. So that was just a suggestion to get
Yep.
things even simpler. So I guess the actual implementation is for me is steering should create that repo
Yep.
and assign it to stacks maintainers, I guess.
Yeah, if anything, like even if is there a way to clone a repo? Probably not. Anyway, yeah, if you create the repo, we'll figure out how to get all the right stuff into it.
Oh, you would actually prefer to have it as a copy? I think that's possible. I think you can take any repo in the same org as a template or something like that. I can try to keep that in mind.
Yeah, because
If
then
you
we would just
prefer
need
a
to
copy.
like tweak the things, and it may like I suspect a lot of it actually will even be based off the name in terms of what it publishes and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, I'll
copy
give
it,
you
I think
extra
it will be
credit if
good.
you basically end up with a config file at the root of the
Yep.
repo that has UBI 8 or UBI 9 in it, and the rest of it gets templated out. Because then when
Yeah.
UBI 10 comes around, or maybe
Yep.
UBI A, depending on what we're calling it, I don't know,
It
then
won't
it'll
be
be really
much.
easy.
It might. I don't think it'll be much more than that. I think it'll be like modifying the images.json to just list here's the images we want to create, and they'll have a different.
Hmm
Anyway,
I was just
Yep.
thinking because it's basically a search and replace across the repo for UBI 8 for UBI 9. We should extract all that out and just make it a variable.
yes, I'm just not sure how close we are. We may be pretty close to that, or a few,
Mm,
but it won't be big either way. So
yeah, no worries.
I actually that's pretty much a stacks RFC. So I won't comment much, I guess, from my point of view. I don't exactly know the RFC processes and procedures how they went in the former days. I think much of that is actually more complicated than I would prefer. Like something like this, I don't know what this needs a markdown file and like explanations like prior art. It would be a relatively simple issue. But either way, I guess that looks fine. I do have to look at it though, and probably also Stacks maintainers should. Steering committee's already on it, so
Yeah, I'd seen an earlier version, so I just added my +1. But you're right, like it's still good to have people read through, make sure that it makes sense to them and they understand what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of like approving life and here, I'll give it a read, I guess.
Yep.
But I don't see anything that would actually be wrong. It's like I guess I'll even approve it, even if I find some typo and make a comment on that typo, and then it's up to you whether you take it or not. So that wouldn't be hindering us.
Sounds good.
So, do we have anyone speaking for this one? I recall there was Slack communication on it, but Anthony's not here actually. It is already approved by both a steering committee member and a Java and utilities maintainer. I think that is the suggestion in there. I don't know, but I guess we can't do much about it. The background seems to be to give people a way to, like, it's an escape hatch in a sense, I guess, with the APT build pack, which can work and also can't, depending on whether the software installed is ready to accept things being configured instead of in the default location, because of course build packs can't write into the default location of APT.
It does
But
mention
as
extension, so I wonder if the extension is meant to, I haven't read it, so I can't comment like that. If it's an extension like we built for UBI, that can work around that problem.
mm, so maybe give it a read. I think it's a two-step
Yep.
thing. So something like let's quickly do the APT build pack before we dive into how to create extensions, but I'm not entirely
Okay.
sure. I just followed the stack communication and I'm not even sure if I'm not I don't think that I'm a big fan of that. It's like when you need to go down installing packages, my advice would be consider creating a stack that's based off of Paketo stacks. It's more CI, but then you do have something under control instead of doing something like an APT build pack. Maybe an APT extension could actually be a thing that really works solidly. That's possible.
Yeah, like that's why we went for extensions, because it could actually do it in a way that works.
I mean, it still felt strange, right? I mean, build packs is an abstraction for people who don't want to know about Linux packages, right? Um,
Sure, I mean that's what we achieved with UBI because you're unaware that which packages
Yep.
are being
yeah,
installed. That's handled by the extensions. The
True.
downside, and of course the one for APT, is going to be that we've got the advantage with UBI that there are a bunch load of published runtime images that already have the
yeah,
runtimes installed. Now you don't have that for
yeah, yeah, it won't
Ubuntu-based
work for
stuff
them.
or
Yeah.
Debian-based
Yeah, no,
stuff.
that's
So
true. Yeah.
so they're going to have to use the extension to do run image extension as well, which is fair. That's all supported. It's part of the spec. It will work just fine. But it's going to introduce some interesting dependencies when you come back to rebase the images later that I don't think have been experimented with in any great way yet. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they get to. Well, I'm keeping an eye on it, but there's early
Yeah.
days for that one.
Yeah. But yeah, can't really say much about it. I guess people should just start looking into it. I didn't see that before. Python package manager built packs consolidation. Interesting. But as I said, I haven't had a look. Okay, Jericho is aware of it. That's good. And there
Yeah,
has
we
been
talked
some
about this
discussion.
back
Oh,
on
it seems
the
to be
meeting of the 7th. It was that Jericho will review it so it can move forward. So.
all right. Then there's nothing to do for us, I guess. The core builder. Oh, that's just an update PR. That just clarifies one thing that there's two builders that are going to be created there. Let me see. I have a pending comment, so I guess I should have a look at that again. I don't know where that ended. It was just meant to allow the new the noble builder to actually build two builders from one repo. So to actually like reduce the number of repos needed. So we reduced the number of stack repos needed to one, producing the build image plus a couple of run images. So static, tiny, and base, leaving out full. I think I had heard one first mentioning the need for something in full. I don't know. I guess one of the main motivations to leave out full was that the full builder actually has its own build image. So I just realized that static, tiny, and base use the same build image, so it was pretty easy to have one builder doing all of them. And instead of the user selecting a builder to choose the size of the resulting image, they would just use the builder and select the run image, which is far closer to the choice they're actually making. But full might not be able to be supported in that case. But yeah, this one is really just about those, but I don't recall what my pending comment here is, so I guess we should also move on. So that's just an augmentation to the already merged PR RFC about the actual existence of that core builder, so to say. All right. Propose, oh, that's my one, right? I didn't look into it since then. I think there have been discussions in working group meetings that I missed about it. Either way, I guess that has to turn around. I like my plan to pick this up again is when all the work around Noble is actually done and finished, and then we can talk about is that now easy enough to adapt quickly. I, for one, see more and more people reporting CVEs, even those that are false positives that just their scanner finds. So there seems to be an interest to be up to date, and so I would really, really recommend for the project to go for latest LTS. We've done it, like we are on Noble like the day after Noble was released, and there was basically no problem at all. So we're now even like investigating using another Debian based distro, and that is no problem at all doing a change there. So I don't know why we would block that out. I can see Buildpacks like PHP running into troubles if they really have to adapt there. On the other hand side, I'm not sure if there's any maintainer left for for PHP. So there's this other already merged and approved RFC about Buildpack status, which I really need to pick up, where I expect that PHP will be on the drop list. That's also a reason for that. That was the one build pack that definitely needs full. So that was another reason that maybe we don't need full if PHP won't be there. But anyway, I mean, everyone has to do something, or every tier one build pack has to do something when we update this, even if it's just checking and like giving a thumbs up for, yeah, no problem detected. For Java and Node, I don't see even the potential to get into trouble with that kind of update. Others might, right? If you have a major bump of OpenSSL, you might run into some problems, maybe depending on what you do. But as far as I know, neither Java nor Node are actually dynamically bound
Yeah, I
to
know the Node
OpenSSL. So,
community ones bundle everything. So
hmm?
the Node community ones bundle everything. So you're right on that one.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. Anyway, so. I'll pick up this one actually when maybe I should make a comment. I'll pick this up again once Paketo local is released. Then it's maybe clear that there is no more progress to be expected and no need to discuss anything up front. Add RFC to unify log output. That's from a colleague of mine. I would still think it's valuable unless we go for like even further looking alignments, which would be what I would prefer, but it might need some more work in that direction. Um,
I think that's what makes sense is if somebody has time to really look at what makes sense to align and how. So
We are in the process of looking. Litpack V2 has been released, so there's a chance now to really do some things. I think, funnily, we have on our list to first adapt Packet to support the new dependency metadata format, and then potentially as a next step to drop Packet. Reason
okay.
is reason is that this way you get into steps, right? You first have all the
Right.
tooling around Buildpacks supporting the same metadata format, everything aligned, and you could do smaller steps instead of juggling with 5 balls, and then hopefully everything goes fine. And then, as we all know it, usually it doesn't if you are in that kind of situation. So we might do it stepwise in that direction. I'm also not fully clear if everyone agrees. I think Ralph indicated that like from the note perspective there was like no huge preference for either of it, depending on who does the work.
Yeah.
Um, so it seems like there are definitely libpack maintainers left, right? With the whole Java maintainers Fox, but for Packard, it's like two colleagues of mine stepped into the tooling maintainership, and I think also Jericho is tooling maintainer now. But there are not many people left, so we should really align there. And I think that's really the three things surrounding that. It's the library for writing build packs, it's the tooling around publishing build packs, and it's the whole CI/CD stuff. That are potential alignment points in terms of just getting rid of some of the duplicity so that less maintainers can still successfully maintain the kind of clockwork of the
Yeah.
project, right?
Totally makes sense.
So I guess as part of that, this one will be automatically get in place. But if not, I still think at least unifying the lock output is a good idea. But now I guess we are striving for more actually. So without Jericho there, I don't know if there's an update on this one. But yeah, I think Costas did also quite a lot of work in that direction. So maybe you have an update.
I looked at the
Um,
comment at the bottom and it basically said like we can just close this one because
okay.
like so I think it's basically like that proposed something, but like that's not necessarily what happened. And there has been lots of work going on multi-arch, so we don't necessarily need the RFC at all, I think was the thought.
Actually, like in December last year,
That's
Daniel
what I was
said,
saying. It was like
we
that back
are
in,
going to close it
yeah, it
in
just
one.
hasn't happened. So if you can close it, I would just close it.
Yeah, it's like uh seems seems like multi-arch is uh well underway without this RFC closing now as suggested by Daniel above. That should be enough. There we go. Mm, refresh and it's gone. So that was all the RFCs. That's a good one. I haven't attended any CNB meetings, so I wouldn't be able to provide an update. It looks like that's another project drying, like running dry in terms of maintainership. Like Natalie seems to have left. Her Slack handle is marked dysfunctional or something like that, so she apparently really left. With that, I don't even know if there's a single lifecycle maintainer left that did actual work. Like I think there is James Brown or similar, Jamie Brown, something like that, Jesse Brown. It was Jesse, I think. But I think I haven't seen many actual work commits, more like approving and doing some really maintenance stuff. But so, good question. And that looking at a life cycle that has a Kaneko dependency that locks the life cycle in an old Docker version. It's not the best situation to be in. Just if you didn't actually notice that comment, like we had a brief look into Builder actually and have added something to the I think to the RFC around it that Natalie opened about that. But that's about all at the moment because we don't use extensions and I just had something to look into that more closely because of a misconception. So we had reports about CVEs being shown, but that was actually just a scan of the builder, which of course contains all the life cycle, but the launcher actually is free of Docker dependencies. So the run image will not be affected by the Docker version lock-in. And so priority dropped on our side to actually do something about it. As I said, we don't use extensions for anything. But I think it looked pretty nice and promising in terms of feasibility. But nobody to right now actually work on it as far as I'm concerned and as far as I know, which is quite a pity for the upstream project, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what work's needed there. It's a matter of I can't take it on from this end at the moment with the stuff that's going on, so it's sitting there. I'm quite happy to help people get through it, but there's just resource, isn't it? Uh,
Yep. I don't know who else is using extensions and for what. Like I know it from Red Hat, and there it's really primarily to switch the run image, right?
well, we use it to also extend the builder image, so because otherwise we'd
Ah,
need every
okay.
version of Java and every version of Node installed concurrently inside the builder image, which is a little bit of a mess. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we use extensions to install the appropriate
Building
runtime for
images.
building and to switch to an appropriate run image. I
Mm-hmm.
believe Google were using extensions for something, or were looking into using extensions for something.
Okay.
There was one other major vendor that was using extensions for a similar reason to install system packages.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that's entirely just limited to what Paketo's doing, but certainly the only extension uses I'm aware of in Paketo at the moment is the UBI stuff, with the
Mm-hmm.
exception of the proposed apt stuff, which is coming down the pipe.
Yeah, but I was actually referring to whether outside of the Paketo ecosystem was using it, like whether Heroku has a case for it
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
if
I
it
know. I
really.
know there's a few people who have been looking at it and whether or not they've actually gone public with anything they've used. But we weren't alone from a Red Hat perspective in wanting this support within the upstream.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. The speaker notes read like I have no memory at all. Thanks, Michael.
Well, I think that's quite common. It's like, well, there's somebody else I just can't remember, right? So,
It's like, yeah, there was a meeting, like at some point in the last 3 years, during which
right.
we've been discussing extensions, where various
Exactly.
other people from other companies mentioned that they were very interested in this stuff, and I simply can't remember who they were because it was too long ago.
Yeah. Fair.
And there aren't enough people attending these calls to put their hand up and say, it was me, which would be
Yeah.
really useful.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something we probably need to sort out. And if it keeps going on, if it gets to the stage where it's going to be removed, it kind of forces the hand and we'll have to find some way to do it. But yeah, that would mean stepping away from a few other projects I'm working on to get more time to work on that for a bit.
Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Anything else from CNB upstream?
Not that I'm aware of at the moment.
Thinking about project update, it just occurred to me, I think like I need to look that up. I think it's time for both CFFTOC and Paketo steering committee elections, actually. Need to check that with Chris Clark. If it is, then I think the seats of both Forrest and Daniel would be open for election. For Forrest, I have no clue whether he will actually step up because I haven't seen him around since he left Broadcom. So he might not actually be interested. I know that when my seat was for election last year, Jericho also, I think, threw in his ring. So maybe he'll do it again. I don't know. If not, something to think about. I guess Daniel will try to get re-elected. If I know him well enough, he'll
Yeah.
probably
If he does, then I'm definitely going to
fight for
support
re-election.
that. He does a good job.
For somebody who has left Broadcom, and I have no clue whether his day job has any use for Buildpacks,
Mm.
uh, it's actually pretty good what he finds in time invested.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to get a roster of who's actually still working on this at some point. There are a group of us.
Kann ich gleich machen, Felix?
Hast du meine Alexa aufgedreht?
Nein. Geh mal bitte darüber. So, yeah, as I said, right, initially, 8 p.m. Children are supposed to be in bed. Or, well, at least the little one. The older one's not yet, but anyway. So, yeah, I think it should be time, like somehow June or July. I think usually elections are, but usually the CFF does that, announces it and stuff. So I'll check with Chris.
It says, if I searched and found yesterday, it says the Paketo Buildpacks Steering Committee. I think it says the nomination period begins June 7th.
Okay.
It's interesting. It says the nomination, well, I guess there's one day to be nominated, and then the elections start on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah, steering committee elections.
Yeah, that was last year anyway.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so it should be a similar time, I guess, and it should be announced. I'll ask Chris. Anything else to discuss? In that case, I guess we can close. All right. See you around.
Yep. See y'all next.